we've seen so many people online do something or make like a YouTube video that like gets success, and then they just base their whole YouTube channel around it, or like that new topic that they saw was successful. And so I think there is a lot of perverse incentives here that could possibly drag them away from what they're possibly better at, which is the direct action stuff.
I mean, 50 million views on Twitter, or 49 million.
Yeah, there's a lot of incentive to do Soup 2. You know, Soup 2 is gonna be like Sharknado. It's gonna be like 7 sequels. Let me show you guys what me and Lonerbox are gonna be talking about. Where is it? Should be here somewhere. Here it is. Here's what we're gonna be talking about. So it's a Just Stop Oil protest who went up and did this to a Van Gogh painting to get attention for environmentalism.
Security.
And then they glue themselves to the wall. Okay, so that's what they did. They covered the Van Gogh painting in soup, then glued themselves on the wall, and then they made some statement like Van Gogh is, we can't enjoy any art if the world's dead or something. Anyway, my position is this is stupid. This doesn't help environmentalism. This doesn't help the movement to stop the destruction of the planet. All this does is make environmental activists look bad, and it just makes it look like, it just looks like attention-seeking behavior. They came Van Gogh fuck themselves. Okay. Yeah, I would say like go after the oil industry, go after like oil rigs, or go after like BlackRock, or go after like companies like that. Don't go after Van Gogh. What the fuck did Van Gogh do? They literally do? Then why did they do this? Then concentrate on that. Concentrate on that. Don't concentrate on this. And that the painting was fine, glass protected. I already said this earlier in the show. Yes. They literally are doing that right now. Okay, then they should do more of that and less of this. They should do more of this and less of wasting everyone's time. Because if the logic is, well, look at this. They got attention, so now people will pay attention to this. Look how many posts this got. It got 236 likes, maybe like 4 quote tweets, okay? Look at this. Much more attention, much more condemnation. They're just going to be known as the Super Van Gogh people moving forward. This drags attention away from, I think, like more important issues. Okay, let me call Loner. Hello, Lonerbox.
Hey, Dylan.
So, why do you hate Van Gogh?
Listen, before we start, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know that much, Dylan, okay? I'm not a very smart person, you know?
Me either. That's why I'm a Twitch streamer.
I don't really know what's going on in this chaos cycle of a planet we call Earth.
Uh-huh.
There's one thing I do know, though, is that if anyone in your audience is in the UK, they should absolutely sign to HelloFresh UK.
Jesus Christ.
Pre-prepared, pre-portioned meals that you can cook with easy instructions. Just follow the link in the Twitch chat. Use the code POGHelloUK 2010 for great, healthy meals delivered to your door that you can cook yourself instead of having to go to a shop like some chump.
Hey, so I want everybody to know that I've eaten HelloFresh before, and for reasons that my buddy here is doing an advertisement, I will not give my opinion on what those meals were like. But yeah, dude, support him.
All right. Why do I hate Van Gogh? Is that where we're going?
Yeah. Why do you hate art?
I love art.
You love
the art's
art?
Fine, Dylan.
Uh-huh.
The art's fine.
Okay. Okay. My opinion about this is I think that this makes environmental activists look bad. This wasn't really tied to oil and gas as far as I know. I know the facility used to have some involvement with Exxon, but as far as I know, that involvement is gone. So this just feels like if the standard is do whatever is necessary to just get attention on you, what stops people from just like going to any art exhibit in the world and trying to like distract from the art, attack the art, like throw paint over everything, or me going to some lemonade stand anywhere and just start like yelling like a moron to try to get attention on me, when I think the attention should largely be on most of their activist efforts to like, actually target oil and gas companies.
So I guess you probably know that they mostly do target oil and gas facilities. I think even just the day after, there was that video of two people who climbed all the way up the edges of a suspension bridge.
Yep.
In what looks like fucking some kind of Spider-Man shit.
I got it on screen right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they blocked another terminal for 60 hours, which is the longest that oil terminal's ever been blocked in the UK a couple of weeks ago. But obviously, none of those got 49 million views on Twitter. No. So I guess the idea is that, it's all just like negative attention, right? But I don't know. Why do you think they did it?
I think if I wanted to give the most charitable interpretation I could give, I'm not going to say I think they hate oil paintings, right? That'd be the funny meme interpretation that I wish was true. But I think it's like, hey, they wanted to bring attention to their messaging. They probably do a lot of direct action, like the one I'm showing on screen, and that gets like 1/1,000,000th of the attention that they think it should. So they thought, what could we do that gets us attention just generally, that people will pay attention to us, maybe Google us, which there was like a spike in Googling of the organization after this, I don't know, Van Gogh attack. I don't know what we're going to call it. The Van Gogh incident.
The Great Soupening.
The Great Soupening, right? Then people Google them, maybe look at the direct actions. Maybe they get convinced by their arguments. And then, boom, they've got another environmental activist. Or they got somebody who cares. I assume that's the goal. But I think organizations like PETA have shown, not only because PETA is just like not the best organization, but like the type of like behavior they engage with has been a net negative for like animal rights and animal activism, because every time the right talks about it, they'll just like point to PETA and say, these are the people who are going around and kidnapping and killing animals, or they're doing this and they're doing that, or they're distracted, or they're trying to ruin your favorite burger stop. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
So I think, I think you're right about them doing it to get attention and to maybe, but I honestly don't think they did it to get popular attention. I don't really know if their goal is to be popular, because I think the way I see something like climate change specifically, I don't really know if there's any other issue you could apply this to, is that the science is basically settled on what needs to be done and roughly how long we have to do it. The problem is that very few countries in the world have the political will to actually do what they say they want to do. Like, I think there was an article in The Conversation about how the Paris Accords have a set of targets, but no country in the world is doing enough to meet them. And I think if you don't have that, then...
Can I quickly play what they said after
what they said after the Great Soupening was dog shit. I was a really bad.
Can I play it? I haven't played it on.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, just quickly. It's like 35 seconds. Okay.
What is worth more, art or life? Is it worth more than food? Worth more than justice? Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting or the protection of our planet and people? The cost of living crisis is part of the cost of oil crisis. Fuel is unaffordable to millions of cold, hungry families. They can't even afford to heat a tin of soup.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty dog shit. I agree with you. This is pretty bad. I mean, like, you could use the logic they're putting forward to basically, like, let's say I wanted to, like, I hacked every Minecraft account on the planet, said, save the whales.
What's more important, Minecraft or whales? Yeah.
What's more important, Minecraft or whales? And I just locked them out for a year, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you could maybe make the argument the whales are more important, okay? Even though I think if we banned a bunch of people from Minecraft, suicides would skyrocket. But I think I don't think that's going to bring any positive momentum in the pro whale movement. Just like I don't think this is going to bring any positive momentum for the environmental activist movement. I understand the frustration that comes with doing things the right way, getting attention through these large direct actions of blocking oil tankers and doing the stuff that I support them in doing. I'm not going to be the law and order like, you shouldn't block a oil tanker. Like, I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But I think that you have to do stuff sometimes the long and hard way, not the fast, quick, and easy way that I don't think is going to make anybody divest from oil.
So I think the way it works in the UK is that most people agree roughly on the climate issue. I think it's like 8 in 10. Like 8 out of 10 people agree that climate change is like a serious problem and that people need to, that policy needs to change. And I think even the UK High Court basically accused the government of not being able to fulfill its own climate change act from 2008. So there might be like a full-on like criminal thing about it or whatever. Like the High Court can accuse the government of not fulfilling its own pledges. But I think the thing is with doing this is that it's like you said in your tweet, the only people this could possibly convince are those who already agree with you. The British public is already sold on climate change. They're fine. I think they're probably one of the most climate conscious populations in the developed world. I think from the perspective of Just Stop Oil, though, it's since the government isn't really showing the political will to do the change that's necessary, they just gave like 100 new licenses. The reason that they've given all those new licenses to fossil fuel rather than just transition to green energy is because it's more convenient. So from their perspective, the best thing that they can do is to just frustrate the oil production process so that it's no longer convenient. So that's why blocking terminals, blocking roads where tankers are going, sitting on top of tankers, all this kind of like hold up just to be like, the fossil fuel doesn't have that advantage that it has right now of convenience. So, and then for them to do that is they just need to inspire people who are already as sold on it as they are. So I can't prove this just yet, but I'm almost 100% sure they will have gained recruits from doing this, right?
They will have gained recruits from doing
like signups. Yeah.
I think they might have. I mean, I think that's almost inevitable. But my question to you would be, are they getting the right people? Are they getting good people? Are they getting the people that actually want to, go out there and do the long, hard process of trying to like stop oil production? Or are they getting like social media clout influencers who are going to come on under the idea that they're gonna, I don't know, they're gonna go crash Hassan's stream and say, Hassan they're gonna start like dumping soup all over Hassan's roofs.
Would that be that bad? No, I don't know. I think my understanding of this right now is that this isn't the first time they have attacked an art gallery. But what they would usually do is they would go and glue themselves to the frames. They would deliberately make sure the paintings were fine. And this thing with the Van Gogh thing is, although she's saying what's more important, a painting or life or fucking throwing the soup and all that and choosing a very sentimental piece, is like they checked beforehand whether or not the painting was protected and would be fine. The soup was actually just wiped off with a piece of kitchen roll. It was that easy. The frame got a little bit stained, as far as I know.
I know. I'm happy that if the painting was damaged, then it would be very this would be pretty settled, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with me that this would be settled basically immediately? Like you're destroying history, in that way. But I would say the recruits they're gonna get, I don't know if they're gonna be the recruits you want. Definitely, because I think the people who are going to be willing to participate in this and think this is good direct action are going to be very different than the people who participate in the actual stopping of oil tankers like we're showing on screen right now. I think the type of people who are going to be involved are going to be different. I also would say that whether or not you agree that this will get more recruits, I still think the general public's view of the situation and view of your actions still matter, because I think this could discredit their further activism in the future. I think people, like, next time they go on an interview, it's going to always be, aren't you the guys who just, like, dropped soup on a Van Gogh painting? Aren't you the guys who just, like did that and said, what's more important, art or life? And what is your response to something like them going and, like, let's say going into your house right now, like, dumping soup everywhere on your stream, saying, Lonerbox viewers must take more of a stand, like, what would be the the thing to stop them from just basically, and I'm trying to think of a better word to use, but acting like it's schizo, like wherever to get attention.
I don't know, because I guess like the way that they get the recruits in the past has been by doing schizo things already. Because I guess I don't really know if there's much of a meaningful difference between throwing soup on the piece of glass that covered the painting or gluing yourself to the painting. Because again, paintings don't have that much to do with, or anything to do with, climate change. So it's like they already get their recruits by doing cringe stuff. But I think they understand that regardless of how well behaved they are, their worst excesses will always be the things that the press want to report on the most. And even people on social media, like people just care more about the painting thing than they do about them blocking terminals, because them blocking terminals is actually not that, is pretty agreeable, I think. So I think from their perspective, I guess to me, it just seems like, just like sacrificing yourself on the altar of dignity to get more people who will be willing to block terminals. Because I don't know if they get an influx of people who just want to shit on paintings or shit on the floor or whatever, but don't want to come to the terminal protest, that would be a thing. But I don't think they've ever had that issue in the past, because I have contacts within the movement. That's why I was like, what would you like? Let's say it was the case. Let's say that they did get like an obscene amount of new signups, which I have a feeling they would have, and there were a sizable number of people in there who were like, yeah, we're up for doing the real stuff. Would that make it okay to you or not?
I think that would make it better. I guess my main concern is whether or not this is the best strategy to use. I understand what you're saying, that they could get more recruits by this, but I do have a respect for the long and hard way of doing activism correctly, building up a good reputation, and therefore you're able to do better coalition building. You're able to, probably get more press spots that's not going to ask you about what you did to the Van Gogh painting, but is going to ask you actual environmental questions. Like, let's say these people went on Piers Morgan tomorrow. What do you think the majority of the discussion would be about? Do you think it would be about what they did to the Van Gogh painting, or do you think it would be about the impending environmental crisis that's coming through?
I know how it works. Yeah, but unfortunately, obviously, climate scientists have built up a good reputation. The people who actually do the science and do the the well-behaved stuff have built up a great reputation. Piers Morgan will never have them on. So I feel like when it comes to the more civil disobedience stuff, then that's the only people Piers Morgan will ever talk to anyway. And he'll do the thing. Oh, of course I agree with you, but not this way. And that's because that's what he does. So I don't really know if there's actually a way for people whose whole thing is to do civil disobedience and to get arrested on purpose and to block terminals. I don't really know how they're supposed to build up a good reputation.
What is the limit, do you think, to this type of behavior, right? Because I've always had this personal struggle in my head about okay, so where exactly do I say, okay, now you're no longer helping, now this is just attention seeking behavior that doesn't benefit the movement? Because they can't just be do whatever gets you attention, or we're gonna have like AOC like shitting in a cup and just throwing it at Ted Cruz, right? Like whatever gets you attention, if you can talk about climate change a tiny bit, because eventually it will distract from the actual activism, and then it's just attention-seeking behavior.
Yeah, so in this case, so for this particular, obviously the difference between throwing shit at Ted Cruz is that that's assaulting someone and not, even if they hadn't checked.
You get what I'm saying? Like somebody walks into your house right now, pours soup everywhere, and says, loner box, more like boner box, save the whales, right? Why shouldn't they do that?
Again, because that's attacking someone's personal property, whereas I suppose Van Gogh and the glass that covered the painting is I guess that's, I don't know if that's state property, or I guess it's I think they're just a funded whatever, a non-profit, right?
So it's because it's state property. So would it be okay if they did this to a public toilet, or they did this to a public park that kids are playing at? Because it's what just makes it different when it's public property versus private property?
I think because when it's private property, it's not someone personally loses something, right? Because if it's just me and I have to clean my house, then I think that's quite obvious, right? Isn't it? If say BLM attacking a police precinct is very different from them attacking people's small businesses. I think one's much more acceptable than the other.
Yeah, but the difference is when BLM and I don't want to like swerve too much off topic, but a police precinct is pretty directly connected to the topic of police brutality. Van Gogh paintings aren't.
Yeah, but I think that's the difference. So with the Van Gogh painting, it was something that was like quite easily cleaned up, and the result was that people did start talking about their direct action afterwards. And they, like, the day after, all these videos come out of stuff that they've done over the past, and that one with the climbing the bridge, and it's like, well, yeah, because they're in the public eye now. So I think that in this case, I think this one kind of did everything it was supposed to. There definitely is a situation where I think I would draw a line, but I guess you would just have to name a specific act, and I can like give the Roman thumbs up or not. Like, yeah.
I just don't understand like the distinction between private and public property. Like, why? Because like if you damage public property, you still did a bad thing, right? You've damaged public property. They now have to be fixed. It now has to be or if you, I just don't understand like what's the distinction there, because you said one's an individual, one's the group. Like, you can still hurt group, you can still hurt society, right?
Yeah, but again, with like, the reason I think public property has a bit more leeway is that there's more recourse if it's public property, right? Like people who have jobs to clean up like public property damage can do it, and whereas with your private personal property, there's, you know, like it's harder to get insurance and things like that. Yeah, of course there's, yeah. And it's not as public as well. Attacking someone's private property is like, it's going to be less public. So
some people are asking me,
especially mine.
Some people are saying, so riots aren't acceptable. A lot of times I don't think they're acceptable. I think sometimes under certain conditions they can be acceptable. But I don't think all riots are acceptable. I don't think it's okay for you to go burn down public buildings, and unless it's extremely extenuating circumstances. Like, I would say, like, what's going on in Iran, it would be a decent example of that.
Yeah, and generally with riots, even if they happen in a country that doesn't have like a, you know, isn't like a authoritarian state, like riots are usually more just like an inevitable outburst than something that you actually advocate for, right? Like MLK never advocated. Yeah,
nobody likes rioting. Rioting is a more of a symptom of a societal issue.
Yeah, but this thing here, like just coming back to the soup thing, I think this was just kind of very carefully done so that it didn't really cause any particular, like, especially that much harm at all, right? Like throwing soup over glass that's covering a painting, it's very visceral, right? It's got a very visceral effect because paintings are precious and they understand that's why they did it. That's why they went for Van Gogh and not someone who was less well known. But it was also something that was like, yeah, pretty harmless, I think. And that's why this particular act, I think, is quite excusable in looking at what they've gotten in exchange for it.
I guess,
but it would have to be a case-by-case thing for me.
Excusable. I don't think this is like the demon's work or anything. I just don't think it helped. I guess that would be my if it had any effect, I would think the effect would be neutral. And neutral, or like I'm worried that sometimes the methods overtake the goal, if you understand what I'm saying. Like this type of stuff will distract so much from what the actual intentions of the organization is. For a good example, you know how, like, I think a lot of times if the idea of debate online is to have productive conversation and change people's minds, a lot of time the performance of it, the stuff that gets the most people watching people, can sometimes overtake what the actual intention of like changing people's minds and like bringing people into political discourse is. Like, eventually it can become so performative that it's mostly actually about entertaining people. Now it's no longer really about changing people's mind. Do you understand? Like, for example, I would never say the Hippie Dippy Championship was about changing people's minds.
Yeah. No, that can definitely happen. As far as I know now with Just Stop Oil, they most of their activity is still focused on terminals, and just every now and then there's the art gallery stuff. There could definitely be a situation where, you know, you have one of these every week, and then I'm just like, all right, what the fuck are you guys doing? But I don't know, like what kind of is there any kind of, like, if you saw like recruitment numbers from the week before this incident and the week after, and it was like doubled or quadrupled, or like, is there any kind of like number that you'd think like, whoa?
I think I'd have less concerns, but I would also be like, there's I want to make sure that like I can give you like something I can be like, yeah, this is a standard I can meet. I've been involved in a lot of organizations where we'll do something, we'll get a lot of recruits who sign up, but then a lot of them don't actually show up, and it's because the thing that inspired them is not really as much about the topic as you would think, and like the type of work people thought they were going to be doing is not what they actually ended up signing up for. Like, if somebody looked at this and thinking, this is the type of stuff we're going to be doing, we're going to be like interrupting speech and stuff like that, and we're not going to be doing like the 5 to 6 days tied to a tree that some environmental activists have to do, there's like a big gap between those two things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I find Just Stop Oil a lot less cringe than Extinction Rebellion, because all I ever see of Extinction Rebellion is like interpretive dance in the middle of a street when drivers are getting angry.
I will say this is the first time I've heard of Just Stop Oil, so it did get my attention, but I have never heard of them doing something like this before. And all the other footage I see of them is like more direct action. So I'm not like discrediting them as just like attention-seeking behavior. I think a lot of times Extinction Rebellion engages in just attention-seeking behavior, and it actually defeats a lot of what they're actually aiming to do.
Yeah, Just Stop Oil guys are like hard as nails compared to Extinction Rebellion. I still can't understand. Hard as soup cans, little tin pot. I can't understand how they got up that bridge.
A lot of determination. I think they had a healthy balance of soup. By the way, did you see their profile image now? It's a soup can. It's
based. That's so funny.
Did they give any like interview with this, or did they talk about this like in public? Like why?
They got like a viral TikTok, the pink-haired girl talking about it. One of their other activists who I feel like I've met her. I don't know. She went on Owen Jones to talk about it. I don't know. It's hard because the first thing I saw was a lot of people like leftists saying like fuck these guys, but the impression seems to have warmed up since then. Well, I really just want, because I think in the next few days I may or may not.
You want to know what a lot of it is? I think the left really loves art. The left is very artsy fartsy type of people. They snowflake. They use so much for the tier 1. And so I think for a lot of them, seeing the left target art in a way to get attention for an issue that doesn't seem at all related to it is obviously going to produce that reaction. And they can't be surprised by the reaction they got online. Really?
No, they're. I don't think they are. I think one activist I know was upset because people were calling them a psyop, which was. But other than that, no. Like that's the thing is like.
There were people. I think Matthew. There was a few people who brought this up, who said like, isn't it interesting that like somebody in the Stop Oil organization was related to some oil company or some not? I don't really care. I think it's most conspiracy, but. There has been a lot of people online saying like this does feel like a psyop, like they're trying to be as insufferable as physically possible to make environmental activism look bad.
Yeah, I would say that to Extinction Rebellion. I don't really know how a group that is blocking terminals for longer than any other group in British history would be an oil company psyop. One of their funders is an oil heiress, so she's inherited money from. As far as I know, she inherited money from oil, and then has decided to use it towards Just Stop Oil.
Gotcha, that makes sense. That seems like a good thing to do with your money, considering where you got it from.
Yeah. I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I guess for me, if this is a one-off thing, then it's like whatever. At the end of the day, nobody got hurt, nothing got damaged. But if this just becomes the behavior they engage in going forward, because they saw that this is the thing that they can do to get attention, then I'm worried that they just become Extinction Rebellion. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
We've seen so many people online do something or make like a YouTube video that like gets success, and then they just base their whole YouTube channel around it, or like that new topic that they saw was successful. And so I think there's a lot of perverse incentives here that could possibly drag them away from what they're possibly better at, which is the direct action stuff.
I mean, 50 million views on Twitter, or 49 million.
Yeah, there's a lot of incentive to do Soup 2. You know, Soup 2 is going to be like Sharknado. It's going to be like 7 sequels.
Yeah, I would be wary of that. I mean, this is definitely the most optically extreme thing they've done. Because normally it was just gluing yourself to the frame and constantly being like, no, don't worry, the painting's fine. It's just the frame's replaced. Yeah, but now they're just like full on. So, yeah, I don't know. I may or may not be getting access to their to their sign-up numbers over the next few days to see what happened the week before and the week after. But you know, who knows?
That
We'll
would be interesting. I will say that would probably. I guess I would want to see how many of those people actually got involved. If you, I guess you just ask them, like, do you think the people who are signing up now are going to be like long-term members? Do you think they're going to be able to engage in the other types of activism we engage in? I think that would be like a good question to ask.
I think it would be like a funnel thing, right? You're probably going to get a bunch of shitheads who just thought the soup thing was funny, and then, but in that there'll be like a
there are a bunch of like stop oil like Alex Steins.
Yeah. I mean, there is a problem, I think, with most of the time I see these people do interviews is they're usually all right with their facts, but every now and then they'll do this thing like, oh, all the mainstream scientists said we have 9 to 12 years, but actually this one retired scientist said it's 3 years and we should listen to him because he doesn't have incentives, which is almost a bit like anti-vax logic. But other than that, I think they're relatively, like I fact check their interviews all the time because I just don't, you know, I just don't trust people. But yeah, like usually it seems okay. Like they're kind of spot on. I don't know. What do you like in terms of climate change? Do you think that's quite an extreme position to think like what it seems like the only thing that can be done now is just for a small minority of nutters to frustrate the oil production process because governments just won't do it otherwise?
I mean, like, it's not the type of activism I engage with. I think there's like a diversity of tactics type thing, where I'm not going to be the person to go up there and like tie myself to an oil rig, right? So I also want to like kind of reserve my judgment to some degree, because I'm not going to be the one to do it. I'm just going to be the one to get shot at, you know? So, but I do think that it can like frustrate. If there's enough, it can be put them in a position. If enough people engage in that type of behavior, it can put an oil company in a position where it's just no longer profitable or no longer maintainable, and so that then alternatives must be looked into, which I assume is the goal. I guess like the question is like how many people they need to get involved in order to actually have that much of an impact. I would assume like a decently substantial amount. It would be either that or you get enough attention and enough public support against them, against the oil and gas production and in favor of environmental production, in order to like drag society away from our more destructive forms of energy production, both of which kind of require different tactics but kind of overlap in many ways.
Yeah, I think I don't know how much this has to do with the activism, but I think in the last year some of Keir Starmer's proposals, of all people, have been, in terms of just energy, I guess because of the energy crisis, some of his energy proposals have actually been more left-wing than what was in Corbyn's manifestos. Like, he wants to insulate every home in Britain in like the space of less than 10 years. He wants to completely get rid of any dependency on petrostates like Saudi and Russia. Yeah, he's going for like basically like as full a transition as possible and not that much time, like to properly like accelerate it. So yeah, I don't know. That's
good.
Kind of
I mean, there's a million different benefits towards moving away from oil and natural gas as our like main way of energy production. I mean, there's a million, like obviously the obvious is, the most obvious is like not destroying the world, but another benefit also means that a lot of really despotic regimes that rely on oil and natural gas for most of their international trade leverage, like Russia, like Saudi Arabia, they would lose a lot of influence once that transition is made, and it would make it so a lot of countries which don't agree with their values but support them due to the fact that they want that oil and gas would have no longer a reason to, and then these regimes would have to find other ways to justify the rule over the country outside of, hey, but we make so much money out of oil and gas.
By the way, Comrade Robin Hood in your chat said some dumb shit, but like everyone says this. Keir's not going to do any of that because he's a fucking Blairite. Actually, no. First of all, like Blair didn't do what he did because he just like Blair didn't actually lie about doing lots of progressive shit and then fucking backstab the public and do like neoliberal stuff. He didn't actually do that. He tried to assure the nation and Rupert Murdoch and all that he was actually not like the old Labour candidates. He was like fucking Blair was like, oh, we're not like the other Labour Party. We're gonna get rid of Clause 4. We're gonna like be like really pro Thatcher policy. Like that's what Blair did. Blair promised that and he delivered on it. Keir Starmer is in a situation where the much more popular thing with economic policy is progressive economics. Even the right of the UK are okay with nationalisation and progressive economics. So no, it's not a good comparison. Fuck. All right, sorry.
You just made up people. Tony Blair, fake person.
These days, yeah. That's the video you've got up, the TikTok. Yeah, it's good.
You haven't watched it yet? I'll watch it after the convo.
What else? What else are we fighting about?
Is there anything else we're fighting about? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think we ever fight, really.
No. It's been nice. It's been nice, fresh content.
I assume it's not really the stuff I engage myself in too much. I guess like I just really I am so tired of people very obviously just doing stuff for attention and then trying to justify it through the lens of activism, which we see all the times now. Remember Laura Loomer when she like handcuffed herself to Twitter headquarters to call out anti-Semitism? It was really just because she got banned because she was very, very, very Islamophobic. And she just made a clown of herself, got a lot of attention. And then there's actual criticisms you can make of like social media companies and how it like it benefits extremists through the use of its algorithm, which specifically is it encourages divisive behavior, especially on Facebook. And these actual criticisms get like washed away, but people just complaining about how they can't say the N-word on Twitter.
Yeah, well, oh God, we were watching BBC Hard Talk with David Irving earlier. Do you know who that is?
David Irving. David Irving he wrote a bunch of books about the Second World War, if I'm correct.
Holocaust denier.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, we watched his interview on Hard Talk. I had to delete the stream because the fucking interviewer, the BBC Hard Talk interviewer, used a tactical N-word.
Really?
Hard R, yeah.
What was the context?
He was quoting something David Irving said.
Oh no. No. What was?
And then David Irving was like, "It's the kind of word where you say it. It's on the tip of your tongue, and then you feel this awesome wave of guilt and shame. I wish I'd never said that word." It's fucking
Christ.
Brilliant. It's like people don't understand. BBC Hard Talk interviewers are like fucking the OG debate bros.
The OG debate bros. Amen.
Yeah.
The legacy that they maintain today is held up by Vosh and Destiny.
Fucking homos N-wordus. I'm sorry.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm okay. Are you just starting your stream?
I started about an hour and 40 minutes ago. I'm back home, so I got to get like a real setup now. What's this that you've sent me? I've had enough of this dude. Is he still doing stuff? Is he still talking or something?
People are pissed off because FD Signifier boosted him in a video.
FD Signifier? Okay, yeah. He's the dude with the dreads, right?
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with his work. But why did he got boosted? What did he say about him?
He was, I think he was a BDS. I haven't seen it, okay? Someone said that they should watch him because he's a BDSM expert. Is that why? Was that the context of the boost? I don't know.
BDSM expert.
It was just like, if you want to know more about this topic.
BDSM expert.
Whatever. I don't know if that was exactly it, but I think it was in his video about how conservatives can't fuck or something.
Conservatives can't fuck. Huh. Well, you know what? I think that if there's anyone that should know about how to take a beating for sexual gratification, it is this guy. That is true. Okay.
That's true.
You have a good one, okay?
Yeah, take care, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Let's move on. Let's see what she had to say.
Trusty soup can, you've got my brand now. I would like to make one thing perfectly clear. We did no damage to the painting whatsoever. I was in court yesterday, heard that there's been minimal damage done to the frame, which is repairable and replaceable, and absolutely no damage done to the painting. It was behind glass, and we never ever would have considered doing it if we didn't know that it was behind glass and that we wouldn't do any damage. I mean, literally, we were sat there still glued to the wall. They wiped it off with a bit of kitchen roll. I recognise that it looks like a slightly ridiculous action. I agree, it is ridiculous, but We're not asking the question, should everybody be throwing soup on paintings? What we're doing is getting the conversation going so we can ask the questions that matter. Questions like, is it okay that Liz Truss is licensing over 100 new fossil fuel licenses? Is it okay that fossil fuels are subsidised 30 times more than renewables when offshore wind is currently 9 times cheaper than fossil fuels? Is it okay that it is there in action that has led us to the...
To get the conversation starting. God, but there... But you kind of poison the conversation when you started from such like a... Like, if I, like, go into traffic and start throwing feces at cars and everybody, like, breaks, it's like, what you doing, Dylan? It's like, look, I want to get the conversation started about Ukraine, okay? Is it okay that mass graves are being filled up? Like, okay, I mean, you might agree with me about Ukraine, but I feel like you're kind of, like, you're setting the tone of the conversation so negatively from the get-go, man. Ignoring feces on coal. Please go on, Dylan. Let me hear about your talk on Ukraine. Exactly, yeah. Live Tucker reaction. That's such a good emote. We don't use it enough. The unfair comparison. You get what I mean. You get what I mean. I don't think they meant it in a negative way, though. I don't think we should, like, I don't know, skin these people alive or something.
It's a living crisis where this winter people are going to be forced to choose between heating and eating. This is the conversation we need to be having now because we don't have time to waste. Last year, Sir David King said what we do in the next 3 to 4 years will determine the future of humanity. So we're using these actions to get media attention because we need to get people talking about this now. And we know that civil resistance works. History has shown us that it works. I'm stood here today as a queer woman, and the reason that I'm able to vote, the reason I'm able to go to university, hopefully someday marry the person I love, is because of people who have taken part in civil resistance before me.
Have you seen the UK polling numbers? It is wild how much trust has caused the Tories to fall off. Let's see. Jesus. Oh my god. Jeez. Oh my goodness. Shit was... What happened?